So what you're saying is she's Victoria's Secret and I'm big and tall. If you're going to go shopping.
Well, don't.
Well, I would say
analogy.
this, man. If you're going to, that's a great way to say it, baby. He's got to shop for his wife at Victoria's Secret.
Candy's.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis. I'm Steve Alessi, and because family is everybody's business, I have in the podcast booth today Mary Alessi and our son, Christopher John Alessi.
That's
Good
me.
to have you, son.
That's
Good to
you,
have
yes.
you.
Good to be here.
All righty, if you were to look at the merchandise in front of us, you'll see that there's a gift waiting for you to purchase and give your friends and wear yourself. I personally like the one about audience.
That's really cool.
That's what you are listening to us today, and it explains it on the T-shirt.
Yeah, and if you like to listen to podcasts, that's a great
one to have. Yeah, and then the onesie for the babies, that's really cool. And then, of course, the book 42. If you haven't got it and read it, you should.
Absolutely.
It's a guide to finishing well when you thought you were finished. All right, Mary. Okay. We're in the podcast booth today because you have a subject that you would like to discuss with your son. So I'm here to monitor. Take it away.
Well,
monitor or mediate?
Both. This is an interesting topic because I said to you the other day, I would love to go in the podcast booth and discuss this with Chris, put him on the spot and have this conversation because we know the relationship, are you ready? Between mothers and sons can be strained. It can be a very difficult relationship, or it could be a wonderful relationship.
I feel like I should be sitting in the middle just to keep y'all.
No,
Go for it.
I think if we're going to help our audience, one of the things that we do, we say family is everybody's business. And so we like to air our dirty laundry business out here on this.
Put it out.
So we need to talk about
it out.
So
tell me what inspired this particular.
This is going to be
go
news
for
to
it.
me, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
so
it's not your fault.
It's not you.
Oh, praise God.
Not this time.
It's my mother's.
So interestingly enough, we have your mother, a wonderful mother-in-law to me, and a wonderful mother to you, who's staying with us now for about a month. And you actually remodeled the guest bedroom to be larger so she could come and stay more periodically and stay longer times to be with us, which is wonderful. And she's a great house guest. Let me just say.
First time in my life.
For the first time in your life.
Because she's always lived right next door, down
That's
the
right.
street, really, in Miami, in her own home.
You go see her at her house.
Right. Now she's in
Yes.
mi casa.
Sí, su casa. So it's wonderful. She does everything she can to small herself up and be as inconspicuous as possible. And what I've noticed, though, is the daughters, with me and her, I wake up in the morning, if she's in the living room, I grab my coffee, stay in my robe and my pajamas, and we chat because it's cherished time, girl to girl talk. But I've noticed, with Dad, and he loves his mother and she loves him, he doesn't know how to act. He just doesn't know how to behave, so he gets quiet and he gets tense. And then I notice she tries even harder then, and she has to overcompensate. And I'm watching this game,
Am I
and
mediating,
I'm
or are you?
who is this really?
I think I'm here to monitor what's
We
going
need to
on.
bring Lauren back in for a counseling session. No, but it's...
You know what's funny about that podcast? I'm the one who has a degree in psychology first, and yet Lauren is the one that everyone thinks we need here.
Oh, wow.
Okay. You're not going to bring me in for all things theology next year, and I have a master's in theology. Continue.
This
So
is
back
about
to-
mothers and sons, not fathers and daughters. This is about you and me, mister, all right? Forget him. Okay. But I thought it would be really interesting because the dynamic between, and as you get older, it definitely changes and shifts. The expectations of mom changes on her son, especially if it's her only son. And I'm watching this and taking notes, just so you know. But I think you and I have a very different relationship because of our verbal energy that we have. We talk incessantly and a lot. So it's different. Dad is a completely different personality, right? So there's a difference there. But also on the broader scale, when there's a lot of single moms raising sons and the expectation of the son and just kind of covering all of that, how simple men are, really. They're so simple. And women tend to complicate them because we're complicated. So as a mother who has, in her mind, raised this Savior of the world son, the perfect son, we're just born that way. You're going to see that with Rochelle raising Marino. Stephanie's about to have Matthew. You'll see their mothering is very different than it is with daughters. So I think, though, I'd like for us to keep the audience listening and not turn this off. Just, you go ahead and talk about our relationship, Chris. And my expectation or any pressure that my mothering puts on you.
Okay.
Besides which I don't think I perfect, do.
The perfect woman in the world. Beside that, in the comparison trap of, all of that.
But I know your problems with your dad, not me. But go ahead. Just for the sake of the podcast.
I will say, when you brought up the topic, I got an image of the Dolphins Stadium, because right next to the Dolphins Stadium, where they play all their games, is a very big, training facility. It's a big practice field, and it's right there. And the father is always the coach of the son, always. That never stopped. But I have thought that the mother is that practice field. It's the training ground, and it's not that they get your worst at all. It's actually how you practice is how you'll play. And Dad helped me see early on that the way I treat my mother, the way I view my mother, is the way that I will treat my wife. And really, as a leader, anyone I lead. I mean, the way that I don't really see a one-for-one from the way I treat my dad to the way I treat people.
Right.
Because he's always up. But my mom, it's like the way I treat my mom is really the way I'll treat anyone that I love. And so I've seen that, and I that's why I got that image. The game, is over here, but that practice field is right there, and that's what dictates how well the game will go. And so I think there have been times where you have definitely given me a lot to practice.
Okay.
But I would say I'm one of the lucky few. Definitely one of the lucky few. And I would think that if there are sons listening, even daughters, the way you treat your mom, regardless of who she is or what she does or how good the turf is, how good the facilities are, how you practice is how you'll play. And if people don't like you and the way you treat them, your mom probably doesn't like the way you treat her.
Right.
And so I don't know. I think that I would hope my mom would think that I treat her well.
Yes.
And I think my wife thinks I treat her well. And I do believe it's because, 3 sisters and a mom gives you a lot of practice.
Okay, let me interject.
And a lot of progesterone
Let me interject.
and estrogen.
I like this. This is a great conversation, by the way.
Do we have any personalized Alessi family business podcast tissues?
Yeah, really.
Branded.
You have said over the years
that reveals the logo as the tears. Sorry, continue.
You have said over the years, Mary, that anytime Chris and I are, or Chris has a challenge with me in the office, he goes to you, and the two of you kind of work it out. You coach him along the way to say, hey, this is how you got to deal with your dad. This is things you got to say, and so on and so forth. I know it's hard for you to believe, but he actually does the same thing with me, with you.
No,
but that's more lately.
That's more lately.
That was never growing up.
Got some new coffee coming in. Coming in hot.
That's and right. The tissues, there they are.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, that's mine.
Oh.
How did you get my coffee cup?
I don't know. Because it's about me today.
It's okay, AP. Jump right in here. Thank you, Melanie. Ow.
She brought me Marino in our last podcast.
She did.
So she's delivering babies.
Oh.
Yeah, he does. He does. We talk about you, Mary, and making sure that. But it's all good.
Yeah. Can I?
Okay, stop. See how men do. See how you all did. Y'all just did that. Oh, but no, it's all fine. It's all.
Well, hold on. No, because
we're big picture minded.
I think
we have a.
Women would go, yeah, he does, because he has issues with you, and because you don't take the time to stop and talk to him, and because you're a terrible father. That's how women.
That's actually
can't handle the truth.
It is true, and men, both
can't
of you
handle the truth.
You think I can't handle the truth? Do you really think I can?
Am I mediating?
That was
or
a
is he?
joke. Come on.
Okay,
go for
I
actually,
don't
no.
think it was a
Hey,
joke. I think
you know what I
you
think's
meant every
happened?
word of
So you mentioned, Mom, that it changes over
Yeah.
time. And when I was younger, I was almost a 1-for-1 mini-me of you.
100%.
The way that I thought, the way that I processed,
yes.
I was all you. And I think it was because what my community needed of me required that. But as things have shifted, as I've become a married man and as I've had a kid and even my role in the organization has shifted, I've noticed more of him coming out in me.
Right.
And to the point where I'm understanding his side of things.
Yeah.
I'm going back over my entire life to conversations where I just thought he was speaking complete and total hieroglyphics. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it now. And so it's almost kind of like the part of me that was so much like you, I almost don't even, that's not coming up naturally anymore. And it makes sense because I have to provide a fathering role to Marino now, a leadership role to my home, which is we make the Enneagram joke, the 8 in him. So I don't know.
It's the man in him.
Yeah, sure.
It is. I can.
And now
I
It's
you're
think,
completely
manning up.
shifted.
but I think this is really personally. Okay, stop. Okay, I'm trying to be serious and help our audience. This is exactly what mothers need to hear,
Yeah.
especially. Well, I think every mother of sons, but single moms as well. Here's why. What you're saying is when you were a young man, because a mother's love is unconditional, a father's love is conditional. A father says you take out the trash.
And that starts
good with
even
me.
even as an infant.
It starts
Because
right away.
I
feeling it.
You're
I
already
see
seeing
it
with
right
Mar-
now.
I see it in you with Marino. Like he cries with me and I don't like it. I'm like, he's a baby.
Let me be clear. My son and I are very connected.
Oh God.
We are not one. I am not. But hold on,
6
no, because
months
I am
old.
not. I am not one of those fathers who thinks I'm disconnected from my infant.
No way.
I'm very. I could take him for a whole
Yes,
day
you
and
could.
be fine.
Dude, you
Continue.
taught him how to kiss.
I love.
Oh,
I
he's
love
such a
kissing that
lovey-dovey,
kid.
mouth so much now, he just wants to kiss
He just
everybody.
kisses
It's the
us all. He's
greatest
5
thing.
months old and he's kissing.
Kid's gonna be a great kisser when he gets older.
But no, he won't. He's not gonna. Okay. So here's the point.
He's gonna tell his wife, my daddy taught
Taught me how to kiss.
so gross.
Well, it's better than my mom.
I don't know.
Let's get back. Let's get back
I
on
knew
the.
this is what happens when you just throw
You're
a
about to see the Alessi red come out.
a topic out. Anyway, what's so helpful about
So
that
weird.
comment, Chris, that you just made was this is the seasonal changes and when a young boy becomes a man that mothers need to know.
Yeah.
And if he's disconnected from you and he is thinking about his wife and his children and he is not as emotionally available to you, that's a sign you did your job.
Yeah.
And if you're still pining over him, oh, I lost my son and you used to this and you used to that, you are eroding his manhood. Mothers need to understand how to talk to their husbands and their sons. It's very, very important. I'm learning as you get older how important it is because when you were 18, 19, Dad looked at me and said, and we've talked about this on the podcast, go back and listen to those if you haven't listened to them. When we've done sessions on, raising kids, we've talked about some really dark days and some difficult times in raising sons because of the stress it puts between he and I. Mothers fiercely protect
And
their
what did I
sons.
have to tell you?
You've got to let me raise him. Only a man can raise a man, Mary.
Yep.
And I didn't understand it until I saw one scene from Yellowstone, and it shifted for me.
Which was years after the conversation.
Which was years,
Like,
and I just had
almost
to
a
dive
decade
to it
after the
to
conversation.
have peace between you and I. There was a lot of disagreement because I felt like if you would just talk to him, I did not realize there was different things Christopher required as a man. Now, if I flipped the script, I would tell you, you don't understand. Leave the girls to me in this area.
Yeah.
And I was harder on them in some areas than you were.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a natural instinct for me. For some reason, as women, me particularly, I'll speak about myself, that was a much harder shift because when you raise a baby boy, it's very hard to release them, which you have to this, what you see as this man who's hard and he's just so aggressive. And I don't want my son to be that way. But he is that way. That's just inside of him. And you know what I used to say? I used to realize this. I would say to myself, Christopher is a much better version of himself when you piss him off. When you would make him angry, and he'd have to fight back through his testosterone. I would like that version of Chris so much better. Once he'd process it and go, Dad, you're right, because he always came to terms with it. The point that this that I'm making with mothers and sons is a mother is instinctively not going to want to get her son to that place because moms see hostility and anger in their son as a negative rather than a positive. She doesn't realize that good hostility is stirring up testosterone that's stirring up his strength and his power, and he needs that.
Well, I heard it said this way. I'm reading a book about, fatherhood, and he talks about how if your son's playing a sport, basketball, football, and let's just say this, he wants his mom there.
Right.
He wants his mom making signs, celebrating him. He wants his mom to see him as the world and to think he's great. But if he hurts his knee and he's on the field, he does not want his mom running onto the field, my boy, to help him.
Right.
He doesn't want that. He wants his dad there.
Yeah.
And in reality, I think moms don't realize that dads really don't celebrate, which is fine. That's why the mom is valuable.
That's right.
The dad is valuable when he gets hurt. He wants his dad there with the coach to make sure are things good. And so
because he covers the son's pride.
And it helps.
Yes.
And I think the thing there is recognizing that men need other men for direction.
Yeah.
We need other women. We need mom for celebration and love. And the truth is, we see everything through a lens of respect. If we don't feel respected, you're not going to get the best of us. The mother has to celebrate so we feel respected. But if that celebration becomes the only direction they get, then you create narcissists.
Yeah.
Because now they are always, always, always driven by just the celebration. And it is the dad who gets to be there to temper that. It is the dad that gets to say, you're good, you're not great. It is the dad that helps there. So,
or the mom that says you're great just because you are. You're here and you're wonderful. And the dad's like, no, you're not. If you don't do the things I ask you to do, you're not that great.
So I already shared this with Rochelle, this whole analogy, telling her you're good. There's going to be a day, and it's not 2 decades from now. It's much less where you're going to have to turn something off and let me do it all with this boy, especially because of how aggressive he already is at 5 months old.
That's crazy.
Like I told mom, I'm working out now, not to look good. It's just to stay stronger than him. But like, I really do think, so she was already feeling sad about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to
leave a little soon, 6 months. You're
no, but it was just because I was reading it. We were discussing it. Funny. And I'm like, you've got a decade and a half. Like, you're going to be okay. But she is already processing, like, there's something in me that does need to be bridled at some point.
Yes.
With this boy.
Because it's fierce.
Yeah.
Your protection. That's my baby. And you feel the same way with your daughters, but you are a girl. It's just so different. And you use the big R word. And I think for the holidays, you use the word respect.
Oh.
That's a huge one. And I think it's very important.
Our currency.
It's men's currency. And how would a mother show respect to her son to get the very best out of him and better the relationship? And let's just take the holidays for example. Like if we could give them a scenario, because I know over the years where you've needed respect and it was consideration, just considering your plans, that you have a lot on your plate. And Chris, you say this all the time, whether you realize it or not. I need to know what the expectation is. And the girls will go, well, we know what the expectation is. You show up, you go, whatever. But it's very different. And I noticed Dad was always that way. He liked clear plans and clear expectations because men are just wired differently. So how does a mom show respect to get the right reaction from her son?
I think when I feel misrepresented, I feel disrespected.
Right.
Like if I'm not given the benefit of the doubt when I feel like I've proven myself in certain areas, that really bugs me. And what I mean is if it, like, for instance, with Rochelle, or if I feel like I'm sharing something for the sake of freeing you guys and I met back with some type of opposition, like I was somehow saying something bad, I can't stand that.
Right.
And it's because it's not a miscommunication issue. It's almost like I feel like I've earned that my intention here is to serve and make you feel better. It's not to make you feel bad.
So have you become the man that fixes everything?
I've become the man that has to recognize I don't say everything well. That's a shock. But the reason I bring that up around the holidays is because that will bug me with you too, like where I'll feel like something that I'm trying to do or I'm trying to say is being heard through emotion
Right.
in the moment. And I'm so far from that. In my mind, I'm like, I'm trying to make this day easy for you. But it's being read through a whole different lens. So then it comes out, like I was telling you the other day, a moment where I was like, Rochelle, you don't have to cook. Like, Marina's not feeling good. Don't even worry about cooking. She's thinking, you don't like my food.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm literally here thinking, you know what? I'd rather spend the money and deal with that so we get to sit and relax. So you kind of process something through like emotion. And I was just trying to like play my part well.
Right.
And that I think can be difficult.
Okay, I can speak into this for a second. Place a mother, how can she do something for the son?
Yeah.
Understanding. So you would get up on a Sunday morning and you say, hey, in a text, if y'all want to go to lunch or, then let's all be here at, right after service and so on and so forth. And if you want to come, great. If you don't, and that could be kind of
Like a no pressure type thing.
no pressure kind of a thing, right?
Right.
And then you're thinking, Chris, like, all right, we're going to do this, but when?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
The exact example is, hey, we're thinking of doing lunch at some point. Let us know if we could figure, and it's like, tell me we're doing lunch at 1.
Yeah, because by the way, I say to her, hey, tell the kids we're eating lunch today.
We're going to Cooper's Hawk. Make it a reservation.
1
2
o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay,
Say that, because then it's easy. Then we go, okay,
right.
I'll be there at 1, and I can do my own
But
thing
mom
later.
says,
We're thinking of it. And what she's trying to do is say, when you can fit us in. But that's like, it's actually easier to tell us how big is the puzzle piece we're trying to fit. We want to do it at 1 o'clock. Okay, great example. Tell me where around the Thanksgiving table, where do you need me? Mm-hmm. What can I do? Tell me exactly how I can benefit.
Right.
If I need to, and I think Marino's made it easy because we love getting him around you guys. But before that, it was like, tell us when we should be at your house.
Right.
When do you want us to come be there? And part of it is because we have so many other things as a young married couple we're trying to figure out. Don't give us another thing to try to figure out.
Right. It's
Just
very true.
give us that Jenga block.
Yeah.
Just tell us where that fits. It actually alleviates us.
oh, it drives me crazy too. Because she'd say, be here for lunch at 1 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, I'm like, where are they at? She's like, why? I told them 1 o'clock. I said, Mary, I need help setting this place up. Get them here at 12. You tell them to show up at 1. They show up at 1. Nobody's helping set up, and I'm the one responsible. So I get on her. Why didn't you tell them what?
And then we all had kids. And now the men show up carrying baby bags and baby. And
thank
Dad
you.
goes, I got this. Dad's got everything set up. It's like, oh, we came here early. Well,
No, it's true.
I will say this. I actually was talking to one of the single moms in the church. She's got a young boy. He's 15 years old. He's a stud. We were talking and she was telling me, I actually asked her, do you know how profound what you just said was? But she told me that when she was pregnant with him, she remembers when he was like 4, 5, 6 months, she was pregnant with him. She was like, I don't ever want to know a day without having my child inside of me. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. And then towards the end of it, it got so uncomfortable and so hard. She's like, cut this kid out of me.
That's right.
So she went from like, I could never see a day to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he turned, he's like 9, 10, and he's so sweet and things are great. And I could never imagine this kid moving out and getting married. My boy, I could never leave him. Then he turns 14.
Yep.
He's got friends. He's got hormones. And she's like, what's the legal age I can kick my son out of my home?
We get it.
She realized that conflict in her case was a gift.
Yeah.
Because she would have held on to her son
It's
forever.
the truth.
She would have kept him in the womb
the truth.
forever.
Yep.
She would have kept him in the home forever. And I think that's one of the things, maybe that's the reason that moms don't want to see the anger. because the anger is actually the sign he's getting ready to come out of the birth canal.
Yeah.
It's the sign he's got to go into the world on his own, and you're trying to stop that, but it's actually a gift. And I actually think in the season where I didn't have all that testosterone, Dad and I wouldn't fight. The season it started pumping through and I started fighting him, trying to help soften that really did get in the way.
It did.
I needed that. I needed to process that. I needed to see, where do I fit in this world? What do I do with these emotions? What do I do with this feeling? And I will say, once we got in order, your input in my life helped me, because I am, and I'm not emotional, but I've learned I can be angry and not sin. And you've taught me how to do that. You've taught me how to still be soft, even though I can be, harder. And so I do think that if a mom realizes just because she doesn't have the direction role doesn't mean she doesn't have a really important role. I think she'll always fight the dad on it, and she'll create a son she doesn't like.
Oh, 100%. And you're just like your father. That's what ends up
Yeah, that's
happening.
the whole thing. Be angry and sin not.
Yeah.
The anger thing is the father. So that's the thing that she didn't like in me when I get angry, so she'd see it in me.
Like,
But
no.
then she taught you the sin not part. I taught you how to be angry because that's what men do. She taught you how to sin not in the midst of your anger, which is a great balance, which is why it's so important. Husbands and wives really stay focused on making sure those kids are being raised. But, you've got single moms out here that are trying to raise their kids on their own. Maybe the most freeing information that would be shared today is for the mom to realize, all right, take it as far as you can, but then recognize there's going to be a time where you have to see, wait, he's not rejecting me when he wants to start doing things, or maybe even wanting to be closer to his dad, be around his dad, have his dad in his life, even if it's a divorce situation. And the wife's very upset with the ex. It's good for him to be able to still have that connection with that father, because the father is helping in areas, and the mom needs to just step back for a minute, because then the season will come back around where she needs a little more. How to navigate it all? I don't know. I consider myself pretty wise, but at 63 and having my 85-year-old mom in the house, I'm still kind of clueless because there's feelings that I have, there's thoughts that I have, and I got to be so sensitive that in the midst of that, she's in the living room. She wants just to sit there and wants to have coffee and may say something in the middle of the show that we're watching, and I'm wanting to listen to the show more, and I have to be sensitive to that. It's a little confusing. It's a little conflicting. Because the last thing I ever want her to feel like is in my home she's not appreciated and valued and wanted. And I'm very grateful. Mom's phenomenal helping me. She treats her better as her mom than I treat her as the mom, because I'm here. The mom, the son at this season of life is to fix things, step into what dad used to do, fix things. And I feel like I've done my job. But to sit and have long conversations and be okay with moments of silence and quiet, that's a little awkward. And then wanting to watch show. I mean, last night we're sitting around and I'm trying to watch whatever we can watch on TV, and she finally looks at me at, 10:30. She goes, "Are you tired? Are you ready to go to bed?" And I'm like, thank God she brought it up. I do need to go to my room. I didn't want to leave her alone.
Can I go to my room?
But she's the one who's actually saying, Steve, I'm going to ask you this question, but the reality is I'm ready to be alone. I want you to leave.
I really like you to go.
I want to go to my room, take a shower, read.
She's the only grandmother in the world that's like, when she had her house, "Grandma, you want us to come over?" No,
I'm okay.
I'm going to spend my day reading my books.
But the
you're
guilt I have, like, oh my gosh, she can't be alone, but she wants to be alone. So I can't say there's a way to actually do it, the right, the wrong. I think it's good to recognize this is going to be awkward. And the more we're aware of it, it becomes a little bit more manageable. And as a son and a mother, there's, your wife and you're going to have a great relationship, but the uniqueness of the mother and the son is really, really precious. And I got to say, you guys do pretty good at it, especially since you work together. And maybe, you do have a lot like her. probably why you and I are able to work so well together.
Probably.
Well, I want to say my last point. You can say whatever you want, but what I think all the moms like me that are wanting to hear and need to hear, whether your kid is 10 or whether he's 40 or 50, 30, however old your son is, I think the most important thing that a young man needs, a son needs from his mother, is for her to understand the power of respect. Respecting his time, respecting his decisions, respecting his life, and honoring it. And do not overcomplicate his responses. And you said it, you feel like you've earned intention, what your intentions are.
Yeah.
And sometimes women complicate that. Oh, he said this, but is that because maybe his wife doesn't want to come? And women are masters of speculation. Masters. And we will have better relationships with our sons. And I think our sons will even go above and beyond to do more for us when we don't speculate towards a negative conclusion. But we said, I asked them, he gave me a clear answer, and that's all that he meant.
That's what he
can,
means.
he can't, he will, he won't. That's what he means. If I need him, I need to call him. I need to be clear about the time. These are the expectations. Don't add, no pressure, because if you're asking him, it automatically puts pressure. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm asking you, just asking you straight up with clear intentions and clear details. Now, do you want to know what a mom wants from her son?
Absolutely.
I think for the moms that are out there listening, what a mother wants is really for him to just be sweet to her, walk in the room and hug her. And you do this. You are a very sweet son, but just don't be disconnected from her. Just don't be cold to her. Hug her and love her and say, Mom, I love you. What do you need? You want me to take the garbage out? It's so easy. It really, really, really is easier than you think. But I also think for the young men who have wonderful mothers and fathers at home, and they're married, and now they're over at their wife's family, because that happens. That's a very natural progression. Don't forget about your mom. Make sure you keep equal, fair time, and you fight for that relationship too, because it's so easy for a young man to go, yeah, we're just going over to her parents, because sometimes the expectation on him is less at the in-laws.
Oh, totally.
And that's something that he needs to be respectful of and say, my mom and her home and my dad and his home is just as important and just as valid as your mom and dad, and split those times equally.
They need to be split.
Be fair. If you've been at her mom's house 2 or 3 times in a row, then you better even that out and not have for your mother to have to ask you. You go, it's only right. I've got to honor and love my parents because they honor and love me.
Cool. Yeah.
And that's it.
I
That's
love
all.
that. Do you have anything you want to say before we close this thing up, Chris?
You know, I think this is great. I do think I don't know.
Wow. He's
Are
at a
you
loss for words.
speechless?
I
This
think-
is not
Amazing.
happening.
I
Welcome
would
to listen.
want the podcast to know that whenever I get up there and I preach, Dad's made reference of it. I say all the time, my dad said this, my dad said this, my dad said this. But the hardest lessons that I've had to learn as a person, the only reason the pill was able to go down was because of conversations I had with you.
Yeah.
And I would want, there is a 1A and a 1B. The father has to be the 1A.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like we think you can get everything from Amazon. No, you can't.
Right.
You need other stores.
Yes.
You,
That's
you
good. No,
cannot
that's
get
true.
everything from
No,
any
you
one
can't.
store.
No.
So the reality of it is the mom has to realize that the son can't get everything from your store.
Yep.
Even if the dad's a deadbeat, he needs things from the men's store.
Yeah. That's
But
so good.
the things he needs from your store are absolutely invaluable.
Yes.
And I am telling you, the hardest pills for me to swallow that always initiated with him.
Yeah.
We would start fighting, and I'm like, I am not going to lose this time. He's going to lose this time. It was in those moments that my mom talking to me, sometimes like he would talk to me, helped that pill go down.
That's so good. So what
Yeah.
you're saying is she's Victoria's Secret and I'm big and tall. If you're going to go shopping.
Well, don't.
Well,
use
I would
that
say this, man.
analogy.
If you're going to, yeah, that's a great way to say it, baby. He's got to shop for his wife
No,
at
I'm
Victoria's Secret.
candies and sweets.
Okay, perfect. So here's what I would say. If you're going to go hang out, son, with your in-laws, just make sure you're not on the phone when you're around her family's.
Ooh, yeah.
Stay as engaged as you would your own. All right, that's it from the Alessi Family Business Podcast booth. Thanks for joining us. Hope you were encouraged. And if you think this episode might help a father, a mother, and a son, why don't you go ahead and send it to them, like it, get them to subscribe, and let's have fun as we continue bringing to you the Alessi Family Business, where family is everybody's business.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and click on the notifications bell so you can be notified for all of our future videos. And if you loved today's topic, we have plenty more. And you can click on this link right here to watch all of our videos so you can learn why family is everybody's business.